there's that light bulb moment thinking, I need to get that. That is my holy grail. Hi guys, a warm welcome back to Phil's Corner. My name is Phil, and I'm sure you all know by now, this is a little corner of the internet where we chat about football shirts. And if you're interested in football shirts, or even if you're just curious about what this channel is about, welcome, it's good to have you, good to see you, and I hope you enjoy today's discussion. We're going to go hunting for some Holy Grail shirts. If that sounds interesting, stick around. And if you do like this video, and if you have liked previous videos as well, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me. It helps me grow what I'm doing here, and your support would mean a ton. And talking of support, I've had a real encouragement to the start of my Patreon. I've launched my Patreon not so long ago, and there's been a bunch of guys who have subscribed to that and supported me already, and their names are at the bottom of this video. If you'd like to join them, if you'd like to join the community that we have, then check out the link that's in my description. And also I'll show a link to the video now, which goes through a bit of what my Patreon includes, the kind of content you can get. There's exclusive content, exclusive first access to things like when I sell shirts from my collection. So there's lots of good stuff. Check that out. It's really good fun. And as I say, thanks to the guys who have already supported me so far on Patreon. Once again, I have to say a huge thank you as well to my two sponsors for today's video. And we're going to start with Foot Fanatics. Now, if you've seen previous videos, you'll know a bit about Foot Fanatics. They're a Brazilian retailer who specialise in Brazilian club shirts. And if you're into shirts, Brazil is the place to go. There's so many good designs, so many iconic teams, and many manufacturers' best works can be found in Brazil. And I just want to show you as well firsthand an example of something I got from Foot Fanatics. And it is this fantastic Flamengo shirt. Now this is the Flamengo third shirt for this year. The design on the front is relatively understated. There's a lovely black base with some red lines at the bottom. It's quite clean, not too much necessarily that stands out, but it's the typeface that Flamengo use which immediately drew my attention. Look at this, look at the typeface. The pattern to me is kind of reminiscent of some of the great Adidas boots of the noughties, or some of the Adidas kits from the noughties. Really nice design inside these bold numbers with the red moving to black and this kind of hatched texture here, which I really like. There's also a really nice subliminal Flamengo logo inside each number. I really like this number set. In fact, I talked in a previous video about fonts and typefaces. This is definitely one of my personal favourites across all teams and brands from the last few years. I absolutely love this, and I hadn't seen any pictures of this actually before finding this shirt on Foot Fanatics. So that's the kind of thing you can get at Foot Fanatics. Best of all, if you are shopping there, you can use the code FILS10, which is my own discount code, to get 10% off anything on the site. So it's a really, really great site. They've been a great support to me as well, and they deserve your attention. And I also want to say thank you to the other sponsor for today, which is Mystery Football Jerseys. Now, Mystery Football Jerseys are a top-notch mystery box service. And mystery box services are becoming quite popular at the moment. But one thing I would say to you guys is you've got to look out for good quality mystery boxes. Don't just go for a mystery box that basically buys really cheap shirts from discount retailers that you could buy yourself quite easily and just packages them up in a box. You don't want to go for a service like that. You want to go for a service like Mystery Football Jerseys, who get a really good selection of shirts, some of them very hard to find, and certainly the standard is really good from them. So go and check out Mystery Football Jerseys, go and see the boxes available, follow them on Twitter too, they're great on there, and thanks to them for supporting me as well on this video. As always guys, I like to get into some questions and just speak about a few topics that you guys have been talking about before we get into the meat of the episode. So I'll go through some of those questions now. We'll start with a question from Rick, who's one of my supporters on Patreon. And Rick says, with the recent Brazilian league-wide breast cancer pink shirts, incidentally you can buy those on Foot Fanatics, so do check that out. The famous October shirts of the Bundesliga, etc, etc. What level of cultural significance warrants a new shirt by a team or league? It's an interesting question, Rick, and I think it's certainly a subject which more and more people are getting involved in and talking about. Rick also mentioned the Day of the Dead collection that Charlie, the Mexican brand, have released, which is also really quite interesting and certainly piqued my interest. I think to answer your question, Rick, it's kind of everything's on the table really when it comes to influences. I don't think there's a particularly high bar at all. I think basically if there's even a slight link, a brand might take that and use that to make a kit. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think certainly when you're trying to produce a kit every year, as brands do, you do have to look for all those sources of inspiration. The key, of course, if you're going to go down that route, and particularly going down a cultural route, is to be sensitive to that and not just to kind of take it and maybe kind of make it into a way which wouldn't be appropriate. So, for example, it'd be very easy to take something like those Day of the Dead shirts and do it in a way which wasn't honouring the essence or the spirit of the celebrations for the people who are celebrating it. I think there's a lot of opportunities here. I think certainly you can see a lot of other sports that do this quite well. So in rugby league, for example, in Australia, they have a range of different weeks in their major league there. One of them being kits that are designed to celebrate indigenous cultures in Australia. And those kits, as well as being kind of crazy and really quite interesting, have been quite popular, I believe, in terms of not only the kits themselves, but the awareness that it raises around the kit release and things like that. And that's equally important. I think if you're going to do these types of kits, these themed kits, attach them with good causes, like the breast cancer pink shirts in Brazil. And even if a lot of fans will understandably be quite cynical about having yet another kit, if those kits are helping to raise money for good causes, then that's a good thing. And I think that's certainly an area where kits can play a role. So it's an interesting area. I think certainly the Premier League will be probably opening their doors to more initiatives like this. And I've said before, I think on this channel, I think it's only a matter of time before we do see things like a retro week in the Premier League. Maybe leading up to Christmas, there might be a Christmas themed kits week, because ultimately if it makes money, they'll probably do it. And kits make a lot of money. That's why we have third kits and fourth kits and fifth kits and limited edition kits and everything like that. So yeah, great question, Rick. Great subject. I think we will probably return to that soon. Nice one, mate. Ellis Hampton, who's a great friend of the channel, says, another great episode, Phil. With the release of the new Jordan PSG collab, what club do you think has the potential to succeed next with a large brand collaboration? It's a great question, Ellis. I think there's a couple of key ingredients that go into a good collaboration, or certainly makes sense for a big brand collaboration. One of them, of course, just has to be the profile of the club. I think you need to have a club who have a global fan base, or certainly a fan base which is not localized, which is not too niche. It has to be someone who has an audience around the world and a respect and command in terms of their brand around the world. So, if you were to take English clubs, of course the big clubs will be there. And teams like Liverpool, who have just signed with Nike, of course, they're an obvious candidate for a big brand collaboration. But I think you also have to look at the players and those kind of links that you can draw with marketable players, particularly younger players. So a team which really jumps out is someone like Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund, who have a very distinctive look and a very distinctive brand, which has grown loads in recent years. And best of all, of course, for them, they have so many young players. So for someone like them, they are an incredibly attractive prospect for a brand. If you've got Jadon Sancho and Haaland, even Reina and Bellingham and all these young players that they have, this production line of talent, which is of course quite global as well, I think that's an amazing opportunity. Because just think, again, go back to the fact you've got Reina, who's one of America's best young players. Sancho is one of England's best players. Haaland, who, whilst Norway isn't a big market, he's one of the wonder kids of the world at the moment. So Dortmund, a brand would be smart to look at them, and I think certainly they seem like the kind of club that would be quite open to something like that. Even though German clubs tend to be a bit wary of those kind of things, broadly speaking, I do think that would be a really good partnership, and I think Dortmund would make a lot of sense as a big kind of collaboration. And I'd just love to see some new kits from them. I don't particularly like their home kit this year, so why not have an interesting Dortmund collaboration kit this year? But yeah, great question on this. Yeah, who knows? I'd love to know in the comments actually who you think would be good for another collaboration. Peyton says, which clubs would you say have been below average or poor throughout their recent history for designing their kits? It's a good question, Peyton. I think when I think about kind of kits and teams that have disappointed, for me, it's often those clubs which have such a rich history and such a big profile but fail to deliver on that. So, without wanting to be too down on Man United, because I do sometimes hate on them a bit, I do feel like Man United have kind of dropped the ball a little bit. They've not actually stood out, considering the fact they're working with Adidas, who of course are a major manufacturer, and they've got such a great kind of range of old kits, but also the fact that, you know, they could easily do quite a few interesting things with the colour schemes that they have. I just don't feel like they've reached the heights they could. Now, the third kit, of course, has had a lot of interest, particularly since the PSG win, which was a huge win. And by all accounts, I think that kit could actually go on to be quite a memorable one. I don't personally like it, though. I just don't feel it is reaching that kind of top tier of kits. And you only have to look at someone like Arsenal, who I think have done much better with Adidas and their kits. So I think United are one of those teams, particularly the home kits. I just don't think they've stood out a lot. Matt says, "Hi Phil, another great video and topic. I would love to see an around the world in football tops video where you maybe choose your top 9 from each continent, whether it be club or international." And Matt, you've actually hit the nail on the head, because on the next episode, or maybe the episode after, I need to decide, I'm going to basically do a bit of a yearly roundup and go through loads of countries, and in each country pick my favourite shirt from this year, including club or international. So, you know, we'll look at France. Which French club shirt or national team shirt is my favourite of the year? Because I was wanting to do a bit of a roundup of the year, and I just thought that would be quite a fun way of doing it. Going to some of the smaller countries as well, and just doing a bit of a global tour. It might be quite long, so I might need to think about how I do that. But that's what I'm going to be doing. So Matt, you've hit the nail on the head, as I say. You previewed an upcoming episode. And finally, Hubert says, "Hi Phil, do you like minimal techno music?" And actually, this is just to say, guys, I quite enjoy getting comments like this, which aren't to do with football. Do feel free to ask them. I can't promise I'll answer all of them. But on that subject, I actually did train, or rather study, to be a musician, or at least to study music technology. And I was really into ambient music and ambient electronic music. And for my dissertation, I actually wrote and produced an ambient folk album, which, believe it or not, I don't know if that is a genre, but that's certainly what I called it. And the intro music to this channel is from the EP that was my dissertation. So I'm going to actually link that in the description as well for you guys to check out. And I have shared that before actually on Twitter and things like that. But as I say, do ask any questions you have. I'm very happy to chat about them, as well as, of course, what we should be talking about on this channel. But thanks, Hubert, and all the guys who asked questions on this week. But today, we're going to be talking about Holy Grail shirts. Now, this was something which came up after my previous video, when I was trying to find a collection of shirts that I could buy for the price of a PS5. And a few people asked about doing another video similar to that, but with a bigger budget, and actually trying to find Holy Grail shirts. Now, there's a couple of things to talk about, a couple of ground rules to establish. Firstly, what is a Holy Grail shirt? And what are we going to be doing today? What's the budget? How am I going to go about this? So we'll talk firstly about Holy Grail shirts. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about kits or shirts, use the phrase Holy Grail shirts, and basically it's quite a loose definition, but the way I would define it personally is that a Holy Grail shirt is one of those shirts which you can't just buy anywhere. They are top tier shirts which are typically really quite popular in terms of design or a moment in time for kits. So it's the iconic shirts like your Holland 88, your Germany 1990. But it's not just old shirts, and I think the key thing with Holy Grail shirts is it's quite a personal thing. So if you're someone who grew up watching Italian football in the 90s, there'll be several kits from the 90s which you would probably elevate to Holy Grail status. But for someone who only grew up watching football in the noughties, or even the 10s, those shirts might not necessarily have Holy Grail status for different reasons. So actually, there'll be people watching today whose Holy Grail shirt might be a kit from 5 years ago. It might be a kit from last year. So Holy Grail kits aren't necessarily old, but they are typically really, really strong designs, or really, really momentous, iconic kits that were involved in moments in football which transcend generations and are still talked about today as they were at the time they were happening. And, you know, most Holy Grail shirts or kits that people would consider Holy Grail shirts are going to be quite expensive as well. And I think that's a key point as well. The rarity of the kit is a big part of it. Because, yeah, I might really love, you know, Liverpool's kit from 3 years ago, but I can still find quite a few of them on eBay. So, I mean, you could consider it a Holy Grail shirt, but really, you know, I don't think it would typically be in that conversation. So I think rarity does play a part. If a kit is particularly rare, that only adds to a kind of potential Holy Grail status. I think it's really fun as well just to ask people, what is your Holy Grail shirt? And I think a lot of people don't even know. A lot of people, a lot of collectors, often it's only when they're looking for kits that they see a picture of a kit and they might not have seen it before, but just something clicks. There's that light bulb moment thinking, I need to get that. That is my Holy Grail. It's a really fun subject, and a lot of people do ask me, what's your Holy Grail shirt? To be honest, I have a bit of an ongoing list, and as I was saying before, sometimes I just see a shirt and I have to stick it in that mental list and say, okay, that's on my list now. There's many shirts that I would probably consider kind of Holy Grail tier, if you like. But of course, you know, I'm talking about the best of the best here. We're not just talking about, you know, thousands of shirts. I would say certainly there's kind of, you know, maybe a couple of hundred shirts that would probably have that status, which might sound quite a lot to you. You might think, oh, a Holy Grail shirt should only be kind of a top one or two. But no, I think for me personally anyway, there's quite a few that I would consider in that top bracket of shirts. But it's an interesting subject. I'd love to know what your Holy Grail shirts are, what you consider to be a Holy Grail shirt. Maybe you're not like me. Maybe you actually think a Holy Grail shirt should be only kind of one or two shirts. I think for the purposes of today's video, it probably helps to expand that definition, and I certainly have, because we're going to go hunting for Holy Grail shirts, and we're going to look online for Holy Grail shirts which I would consider that top tier, and not just shirts you can buy anywhere else, not just shirts you can buy really cheap, like we found on the last video. We're going to be looking for those really, really high-end shirts. In order to give myself a bit of a budget, I've set myself a limit of £1,000. That's quite a lot of money. But as you'll see today, and as you probably know as well, shirts can easily reach multiple hundreds. So I'm going to see kind of what sort of kits I can get for £1,000. It's certainly not going to be as many as the last video, despite being double the amount of money. Given the standard that we're talking about, given these types of shirts, which are going to be rare, which are going to be quite hard to find, probably going to be a bit older as well, but we'll see how we get on. Yeah, how many shirts can I get? How many Holy Grail shirts can I get for £1,000? This should be quite fun, and we're going to do it a bit like we did last time, so I'm going to actually show you my screen and talk through it as I'm going through. So I hope you enjoy this little look, and I'll catch you again at the end. Okay, let's go shopping again. This time, looking for Holy Grail shirts. Those shirts which are a little bit above what you'd typically be buying. And we're going to have £1,000 to play with, so a bit more to work with than we did on the last shopping video. As I go through them, I'll hopefully talk a bit about my decision making, the things which might help persuade me, and things which might put me off. And there's a couple of sites which I'm particularly excited to show you guys and talk a bit more about. Firstly, let's start with classic soccer jerseys. Now, classic soccer jerseys are a site I've mentioned before on the channel and on Twitter. I really like what they're all about. They're run by a guy called Damien. I think he's on the homepage. There he is. We can, if we can find out a bit more about him here. There he is, Damien, who I actually had the pleasure of meeting last year at the National Football Museum's exhibition, which is really good fun. But Damien is a collector who really has a high bar for what he's collecting. And by that I mean he isn't just someone who collects as many shirts as possible. He's looking after really high quality shirts, mostly vintage, but particularly kind of higher end stuff, which is sometimes match worn, sometimes really hard to find, quite rare. And he sells a lot of what he finds. You know, he does sell a good range of shirts, and as I say, they tend to be higher end. There are still some bargains to be had, so if you are a bit more of a bargain bin type collector, you will sometimes find stuff from him, but really it's for the higher end collectors where you're going to get the most out of classic soccer jerseys. And Damien is a great guy. He's great on Twitter. If you follow classic soccer jerseys on Twitter, I'm sure we could find their Twitter. Here we go. So there we go. Follow Classic Soccer Jerseys on there. They're really good. As I say, Damien, who runs the account, is fantastic. And the standard of shirts, I mean, just today, look at this. He's got a Roma shirt here from 91. What a wonderful design. It's a great shirt. Anyway, Classic Soccer Jerseys. Let's see what they've got available. If we go to shop all items, and I'll include a variety of sizes. I'm not necessarily going to be wearing these shirts. I think one decision I'm going to make as well is that I will include shirts that have sold in this list, simply because for the purposes of what I'm trying to show, which is finding Holy Grail shirts, they're going to be relatively few and far between. Certainly there are some out there, but I think for the purposes of the video, if they are showing as sold but are still listed with their price and things like that, I would include them for this video, or at least include them in the discussion, because I don't want to miss out on some of the best ones, basically, even hypothetically. So let's just go through now. Immediately some stuff jumps out. Of course, that Flamengo shirt is fantastic, as is that Holland shirt. Some great stuff here. One of the best Juve designs of all time. But we are really going to be picky, despite some really good shirts and some good deals as well. Here we go. What a wonderful Roma shirt. Now, the thing is with this one, of course, this design was a primary influence behind the recent third shirt, which was very popular last year, which I think has only added to its value. And that's the kind of thing sometimes, guys, if you see shirts that are inspired by an old kit, and particularly a distinctive old kit, you know, that's quite notable. So this Roma third shirt was quite notable for its colour scheme, and it wasn't used many times, I don't believe. In fact, there we go, one match against Monaco. So that really adds a lot of value to the shirt. And I think just for that reason alone, even though this is £350, I'm going to keep this open as a tab, as a consideration. I mean, it is in a good size, and to be honest, for a shirt this rare, that is a very fair price. I don't think that's bad at all. Yes, you know, some people might argue because it's only one in one game that almost devalues it, but I would actually say when it's a design this good, and it's inspired on the best kits of the modern game as well, there's a lot to like here. There's some really good stuff here already. We've barely even scratched the surface. Oh, so many good things. Look at this Germany design. Oh, with the numbers. Okay, here we go, guys. Now, for me, numbers probably peaked in the 80s with Adidas. Just if you just look at that image there, look at how the thickness of the three stripes on the left is replicated in the thickness of the lines in the numbers. So the number itself looks amazing. Then you look at this on the left on the sleeves, and that couldn't be any better, guys. I must say, this is 100% going on this list. I absolutely love this this design. Yeah, there's a little bit of damage on the Adidas logo, but that's perfectly understandable given the age. But this is pretty much the perfect Germany shirt in my eyes, and they are my favourite numbers of all time, most probably. So £230. I mean, honestly, that has me tempted to buy this, let alone hypothetically. Wonderful shirt. That's the first one for sure, and I'm going to add that to our calculator. So 229.99. Very good stuff. We're still in the early days as we search. I see this Liverpool shirt. Now, I'm a Liverpool fan. This would definitely be in the Holy Grail conversation. You know, I think basically it's one of those shirts, of course. You do see quite a few of them around, but it's hard to find an original in this good condition. That's fair to say. Very minor damage from what I can see here. £225 is, I think, a fair price. I wouldn't say it was kind of an instant buy just because you do see these crop up a fair bit. But having said that, it's definitely into consideration. Now this Germany design, I think in a similar conversation to the Liverpool shirt, is a famous design which many people would consider to be one of their favourites. I do actually own one of these in real life, which I really, really love. And if we talk about Holy Grail shirts, this is very much a Holy Grail shirt. It's one of the most iconic designs, probably the most iconic football shirt of all time, certainly alongside the Holland 88 shirt. I think £190 is a good price, but you do see these crop up other places. So I'm probably going to leave that in the maybe pile alongside Liverpool. Let's do a bit more on classic soccer jerseys before we move on. Wonderful Lazio shirt. Look at that number 8. I love that. It's so exaggerated. Really, really good stuff. Look at this. We've got another amazing 80s Adidas shirt. Look at those numbers, guys. Look at that shirt. That is so good. Now here we go, guys. This particular Roma shirt is one of my favourites of all time. So despite the fact it's only £120, if it was available, that is one of my favourite shirts of all time. This is Kappa at a time when they were really breaking a lot of barriers in shirts. The combat kits, their player issue shirts were so pioneering at the time for their tight fit. And this shirt, despite being an XL, which is an XXL, but it's a Kappa shirt, so it is much tighter. This I'm going to add to the list. £120 as well. It's a really good price. And you do see these knocking about. This isn't the rarest shirt you'll ever find, but I honestly love this so much. To be honest, this reminds me that I need to buy this actually in real life. But I'm going to add that along with the Germany shirt. We're at £349.98. Really good stuff. Classic soccer jerseys. As I've scrolled through, look at this match worn. Now this is Holy Grail stuff. I mean, I can't afford this in my budget today, but if we were to kind of go the level up, if we were to double the budget, this would be probably an instant purchase. It is literally one of the greatest combinations of a shirt and, of course, worn at a time when Maradona was playing there as well. Extremely rare, and to be honest, when you get into this kind of price range, that seems quite reasonable as well, considering the rarity, considering the condition as well, and the fact this is match worn or at least match issue. Look at that team as well. There's Diego himself. It doesn't get any better than this. And of course, if we were to kind of just do a video on Holy Grail shirts, this shirt I think would definitely be in it, certainly in my top 10. Just the whole thing is absolutely wonderful. I can't afford it today in this video, which is a real shame, but it is a wonderful shirt. Oh, hold the phone. I was just about to depart for another site, but this Dortmund design is an absolute icon. It's an absolute gem of a shirt. That is definitely a consideration. £300, to be honest, I think that's pretty fair. We still got the tags. That's quite impressive. XL, it's a little bit big, but it's such a good design. You know what? At £300, I think that's going to go in my basket. That does restrict our remaining budget somewhat. We've just come to £649.97. So only, £350 to play with. But I love this. This is definitely a Holy Grail shirt. Of all the shirts on this list, it's the most expensive. Now let's jump to vintage football shirts. We talked about vintage football shirts in the last video where we were buying shirts for the price of a PS5. Vintage football shirts have really high-end stuff as well as the bargains. So if we're looking at kind of all their shirts, let's go to all products. You can see even now I've got it sorted by year and there's already some Holy Grail shirts. Look at that San Etienne shirt. Oh, wow. But let's go from high to low. And hopefully as we go down, we're looking for stuff in the region of £100 to £300. There should be some stuff that jumps out to me as a Holy Grail shirt. Oh, another great 80s Germany shirt. We could really go for a German theme and get that one as well. Oh, look at that Southampton design in the famous Denmark template from Hummel. Absolutely gorgeous. Really good stuff. You can see here vintage football shirts are really good at what they do. Oh, this PSG shirt. Now, I absolutely love the huge sponsors on this one. And of course that collar, which is also used on those great Dortmund kits, which we talked about in previous episodes. This is a great design. Quite ridiculous with the size of the Seat and Hotel sponsor. But I will keep the one open as a consideration. It is in budget as well. I'd have £50 to play with at the end. As I'm scrolling through, this is definitely still a really good price range. The quality of shirts available at this price is really good. Look at that, a George Weah shirt. Ah, now this PSV design in particular is one of my favourites of the 90s. I actually own the away shirt and I got it for a really, really good price. This one, now it's not the cheapest, but actually this is one of my favourite designs. A bit like we talked about with Roma. This is one of the designs I think of when I think of the noughties. And this is one of the designs I think of when I think of the late 90s. So £175, I'm going to add it. I'm going to add that to our total. And that brings us to £824.97. We've still got, what's that, £175 to play with. So we could buy another one of these. That is a Holy Grail shirt for me. It is one of the best designs I can think of from Nike in that era. Of course, Ronaldo wore this as well, which only adds to its value and its mystique. And yeah, I'm going to slot that in to our list. So far, just to recap, we've got this great Dortmund design. We've got this really nice West Germany shirt, the Roma shirt, and now the PSV shirt. Let's see if we can finish off our shopping at Cult Kits. Another great site, another great follow on Twitter. The guys there are really good, and I've done some work with them before. Really sound bunch of guys. Really, really good range of shirts. Like all the other people we've talked about today, a good range of cheap bargains and high-end stuff as well. If we just go to, let's just see what they've added recently. Let's go, and we might sort by price again, just so we can get to the really good stuff immediately. Look at some of this stuff. Oh man, I missed out on this USA shirt once on eBay. It was on for £60, and I think it only went up to £80 or something ridiculous like that. And I missed the bid, and it ended up being sold for £80. One of my biggest regrets there. I love that design. Of course, the Holland 88 design in the blue colorway for USA. Oh, this Japan design, one of the best Japan shirts of all time. I've talked about my love for this shirt on a previous video, on the World Cup video. Sadly, we don't have the budget for it. Hold the phone. We've got another Boca Juniors shirt. Now, we talked before, of course, about Boca Juniors. You know what? I think this one, for the fact it's got Riquelme's number on the back, one of the best players of his generation, certainly one of the most talented, and it won't be to everyone's taste, but I really like this third shirt variant as well with the grey, blue and yellow. This is definitely a Holy Grail shirt, or at least this era of Boca Juniors shirts would all be Holy Grail shirts in my eyes. And £164, I'll take that with £10 to spare. Because if I add that to our total, we get £989.96. So let's have a recap of the shirts we've got. We've got the Dortmund 96-97 Champions League shirt in long sleeve. Oh my goodness, wonderful design. We've got this West Germany shirt, and this is my favourite of the set for the price, for the numbers on the back. One of the best shirts of all time for me, and really happy to get that one in this budget. This great Roma shirt, a real bargain and one of my favourites, so really happy to get that. And a similar story with this PSV shirt, one of my personal favourites of the 90s. Really happy to get that. And the Boca Juniors shirt. So you can see here, guys, this is my approach and my kind of selection of Holy Grail shirts, but you can have so much fun just going through. And, you know, it's probably not a good idea for your wallet. And if you're trying to avoid spending money on shirts, this wouldn't be a good exercise. But if you do have a bit of self-control, check out these sites and see the kind of things you can get. So there we go, guys. That is my small collection of Holy Grail shirts. Hope you enjoyed that look. Hope you enjoyed me just going through some of those sites and picking out some of those kits, talking about what I'm looking for in kits. And as always, I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear particularly your feedback on the format of this video. It really helps me to shape future content, to know what you like or don't like about a particular video. So do fire away. I'm open to all criticism or comments. And as I finish, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been involved in this video. So firstly, to my sponsors who help make this channel possible, to Foot Fanatics and Mystery Football Jerseys. Don't forget to check out both of them. And if you're on Foot Fanatics, use the code FILS10 to get 10% off your order. And also to my patrons, to all the supporters on Patreon who have helped just really kickstart that Patreon in its early days. So thank you to all those guys whose names are on the bottom of this video. And finally, just a call to please subscribe. If you do like this video, and if you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button below. It means so much to my channel. It helps me to grow. And yeah, I've got great ambitions for this channel, and being a subscriber is the best way you can follow what I'm doing. So thanks so much, guys. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.